Hi everyone, it's Latrice, one of your favorite people in the whole wide world next to everybody else that you know, so get excited. So in this video, actually, I recorded this video probably about a month ago, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna put it out. And then finally today I was like, Latrice, somebody might need to hear this. So hopefully you all enjoy it. It's regarding the last Black-owned bank in Chicago, and enjoy. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks, bye. Okay, so the reason why this is an important story today is because I had a friend that just called me a few months back, and she was like, is your money in this bank? I was like, yes. She was like, I heard that they're closing. You need to take your money out of there. I'm like, is this 1933? Now, even though I can say that right now jokingly, I did treat it like it was 1933 because I started contacting the bank like, are you all about the I'm getting ahead of myself in the story, but let me complete it. So here's what happened. Literally the next day I called them and I'm like, left voicemails, no return call. Now, let me make it clear. I could have easily just went to the bank, but for some odd reason, there was something stopping me for just showing up at the bank, asking questions. I don't know what that is, but it was like an imaginary line that I created. Don't know why I just created, maybe because of the pandemic. I was like, oh, okay, just walk in there. Because I think at one point you did have to have appointments, but it's not the same like it was in the beginning of the pandemic. So I still had that in my mind. So I left voicemails, nobody's calling back. I'm spazzing out. Finally, I see an email that Finally, I see that I can email them. So I email them and somebody emailed me back and they're like, hey, just make an appointment on our website. I was like, oh, that's it? And literally it was like 1, 2, 3. So I went into the bank the next day because I'm showing up on my scheduled time, thank you. Went to the bank and this guy, he was talking to me. He was a representative, he was very nice. And the first thing I said was, are you all about to close? He was like, no. And then I thought about it. I was like, of course, sir. If you all were going to close, you wouldn't even know about it. How ignorant did I sound? Very. Just want to make sure that part is clear. And so, again, I share my story so that you don't make the same mistake that I did. Because he was very gentle with me and he was very understanding of where I was coming from. And he just tried to reassure me like everything will be okay. So in that moment, I made a decision not to like take my money out of their bank, because as far as we know right now, they're the last Black-owned bank in Chicago. They're called GM Bank. And I was like, well, I want to make sure I still contribute to you all. And so since you're not telling me that you're not going to close, then I'll wait. But it was still on my mind. So after I left there, I decided to do something that my dad taught me. Just a very quick side note. A few short years ago, actually many moons ago, my dad, he called me up. I was in my 20s at the time. I'm in my 30s now, my late 30s. My dad called me up and he said, Latrice, I learned that there's two things that run people, either fear or guilt. He said, if you don't fear anything, what are you guilty of? I thought about it. I was like, man, I don't fear anything, but I always felt guilty about something. He was like, well, what is that? I always felt guilty about this, and I'm not going to share that over the screen. And he thought about it. He was like, no, I don't think that's it. I'm like, okay. He asked me, he wanted to tell me, okay, well, that's fine. So I thought about it a little bit longer and I was like, oh, I said, Dad, you know what? I do fear something. And his response was, but I thought you said you didn't fear anything. I said, there's always one thing I've always feared. He was like, what is that? I said, it's my thoughts. And my dad just asked a simple question. He said, do you know how to balance that? I was like, no. He was like, gain more knowledge. So bring you back to the moment with the FDIC. I was like, let me just gain a little bit more knowledge. So I actually ended up Googling them. So I Googled them, got a little bit more information. What did I get? Their phone number. I ended up calling them. So when I called the FDIC, I had a couple of questions for them. And so a representative was able to answer all my questions thoroughly. And he just made me feel very comfortable. And I left that conversation feeling a lot more knowledgeable so that I don't just react like I did before. And so I'm gonna say both of my questions, then I'll tell you how he answered it. So here's the first question. What happens to my money if the bank closes? Because that's the only thing that's important to me, right? right? I don't care what else happened to the bank, but what happens to my money if if the bank closes? My second question is, if it does close, you'll know why I'm asking it like that once you hear the answer. I said, if it does close, then what happens to my money? So the way he answered the first question was like this. Oh, Latrice said, it's so much different than back in the day, right? I'm like, so you felt like I felt about 1933? I'm just saying. So he was like, so in today's time, he said literally, like if a bank is going out of business, then, look, I just saw a text message. He was like, if a bank is going out of business, then another bank will buy it, or somebody else, or, you know, a corporation, or somebody will buy the bank, and it will open the next day as if nothing ever happened. And he said, you as a customer won't know for some time. I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. Remember, that's my first question. My second question, he said, well, if the bank does close, this is the reason why it's FDIC insured, they will start to cut a check literally the following week. So you should get a check within a week or so. I'm like, has anybody ever missed their check? You know, I still had questions, which he really couldn't answer the rest of my question, but that's what it's set up for, so that you will always be okay. And just remember that the FDIC, depending on your bank, I Googled this as well, so you have to make sure you check with the bank that your local bank that you're banking with. But it says 250,000 that they're insured, meaning that if you have 250,000 or less, your money is insured. If you have more than that in a bank account, then I'm pretty sure they will have a conversation with you, or that's money that you're missing, things of that nature. But again, don't get me into rambling about things I really don't know. You might want to call your local bank and just make sure you get the details about how does that work after 250,000. But for me at the moment, I don't have to worry about that yet. As always, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. With that being said, enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.